going. Um, man, where does a lot of your drive come from, man? Because you're so young and you're so focused at the same time. So, where does a lot of your like focus and just listening to you, man? I just hear a lot of maturity. Where does like all that maturity and focus come
um, I'll say life experience, because who you're hearing right now, who you see, who you've seen before, um, this is not who I've always been. Um, I even in my 12 years of ministry, there were those years of my life where I did have some moments. I had my humanistic moments where I did humanistic things, and in inside of myself, I always knew, God is calling you to be greater. So, you have to change your perspective of life, because I used to be this type dude where you couldn't say anything to me because I thought I was always right. Um, my mom couldn't say anything to me. My dad couldn't say anything to me. Nobody say something to me because I knew I was right. I didn't care what nobody told me. I didn't care how you told me. I don't care who you were. I knew I was right. Um, Even in a point where my pastor, Reverend Robinson, he would even try to talk to me. I would listen to it because, he was the man that got me to where I am. He was the stepping stone. But even him sometimes, it'd just be like, I know I'm right. God had to move me from my hometown, send me to college. And at college of Virginia Union is where I really found out that God was calling me for more. I found out that God had something inside of me that not even I knew really what it was. I always knew I was called, but it was not until I got to Union that I really, really, really found out what I was called. Because on that campus is where I was challenged emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything. I was challenged to the utmost, and I had to leave my comfort zone, where everybody knew me, where everybody was comfortable with me, to go to a place where nobody knew me. Nobody could, the only thing people knew was he's a preacher. That's it. Everybody knew he's a preacher. And when when people are seeing you and they're asking these questions about you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Carlos, we got another caller. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, was that you calling in?
Nah, that wasn't me.
We had a caller from a 301 number. Maybe they'll call back. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Maybe they'll call back. I was
Yes, sir.
trying to add that person in, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good, bro. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm still kind of working with all this stuff. So I thought I had it earlier in terms of adding people on, but I guess that person either the call got dropped or I don't know, man. But we're just
Mm.
yeah, man. This technology, man. I'm getting used to it.
I fully understand, bro. I fully understand.
So, man,
Fully, man.
how are like your friend? How do your friends receive you, man? Because if I think back when I was 24, if I'd have talked about like, I'm called to ministry and I'm preaching. I mean, a lot of guys I was cool with was doing different things, man. So, how do your friends receive you?
um, Most of my friends, man, honestly, Uh, Most of my friends have embraced the fact that I'm a preacher and that I'm a pastor. And the good thing about having good friends is, especially being in ministry, is that good friends will always respect your ministry and they'll uphold you to who you say you are. So in moments where they know I'm about to mess up, Carlos, you know who you are. You know, we're not who you are. We don't do what you do. But who you are, you're supposed to lead us to being like you. And so you can't be like us because we want to be like you. And so my friends in ministry, I believe everybody has to have a strong circle. And I'm not saying that you got to have all your friends be in church. I don't have a whole lot of churchy friends. Most of my friends will come to church when I ask them to come. They might go to church once every now and again. And that's not something that I look at as something bad. I look at it as they just don't want to go to church. But they know if they ever need a word, they can call somebody. So my friends uphold me to my ministry. They uphold me to who I say I am, to doing what I know God has called me to do, what they know God has called me to do. Because when you are, hope I don't get in trouble for this one. When you're really called by God, people should be able to see it, and not only see it, they should be able to feel it. Because when you're called by God, there's something about you. And even when you feel like you're gonna mess up, somebody's around you to make sure you remember who you are. Because there are people there are people who tell me when I'm about to do something crazy, Carlos, you know you're not supposed to do that. Like my mom gets on me all the time. My mom gets on me all the time about stuff. My sister gets on me all the time about stuff, because they remind me and they uphold me to the fact that I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher. There are people who look to me for guidance, for advice, for just that word every now and again. And whatever I do behind closed doors um, has to equate to who I am when I step outside behind that pulpit. Because we can't live a a double life when it comes to ministry. Uh, who you are in the dark is who you got to be in the light. So if you ain't praying in the dark, your prayers don't mean nothing in the light. Because I believe that God will, God hears you more when it's dark outside. Because while everybody else is slumbering and sleeping, you're still up praying to God. So, I believe that in my dark days is where I pray most and where people uphold me to the standards of being that preacher and being that pastor. So friends and family uphold me to my standards of just being who I'm supposed to be in God and doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, man. That's real talk, man. That's yeah. That's real talk, man. Because I think so many people these days think they gotta be a certain way or they gotta be like somebody else. But it sounds like, man, you just stay true to yourself, and you got family and friends that believe in you and encourage you and keep you grounded.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. And I happen to have been at your ordination service, man. And I mean, I can tell, man, people love you, man. People love you, man, and want to see you succeed. And that's important in ministry, man. Now, have you encountered any obstacles, man? Like people just trying to, you know, um, I don't know, man, trying to discredit you or, have a problem with your age and, feel like, well, I feel like I know the
when I was first when I first made the announcement to my family that I wanted to be a preacher, that I was called to ministry. My family, there were some members of my family that said, "You can't be a preacher. You will never be a preacher." I went like at least two to 3 years without some of my family hearing me preach, because they had this grounded belief that he cannot be a preacher because of who he is. We're not looking at who God has him to become. We're looking at who he is. And he can't be a preacher. And, you know, it was like, and then it was like my name started just going here, there, and everywhere. And I was traveling here, there, and everywhere. And they're like, "Oh, snap, he became a preacher." He actually did it. And, you know, I don't take any credit for what I've done in these 12 years. But I do understand that God had to prove me wrong first, because I didn't even think I would be where I am. God had to prove me wrong, and then he proved everybody else wrong when I found out I was wrong. And when I became the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Ivor, the word was said, "He's too young to be our pastor." I pastor a older church. My church is 140 years old. We have a lot of older members, and it was stated from the beginning when I first walked in. He's too young to be our pastor. He doesn't have enough experience. He doesn't know anything about pastoring and all of this, blah, 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 blah. And so from the beginning of my ministry, even to the current place that I'm in the ministry, there have always been obstacles about who I am, what my age is, you know, what my past looked like, all of that. There were always those obstacles. Those obstacles continue to pop up every now and again. But just like when I was coming into ministry, when people said I couldn't do it, I wasn't qualified, I wasn't ready, to now being a pastor and hearing the same thing like I heard some years ago, it's like, God, I know you did it before. So I know you didn't bring me this far just to leave me now, because you brought me out of this situation one time before where they said I wasn't ready, I wasn't qualified, this wasn't the place for me. And in the place that I'm in right now, and being the pastor, we built a young adult ministry, a youth ministry, a men's ministry. We've done beyond anything that I even expected to do when I first came through the door. I had a vision, I had a plan, and I knew God had told me something for a reason. I didn't know why he brought me back down here. You know, I was in Richmond. I was cool where I was at. I was fine being the youth and young adult pastor. I was good with it. And when I came back, I was like, God, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this, because they're going to do me like they did me, you know, years ago when I first started ministry. For real, becoming a pastor is like restarting my ministry over again. It's like the years before now, they just vanished. It's like I'm starting over again as a pastor now. So, you know, the licensing, the ordination, all that was cool. But now, like, my 12 years have started over. Like, God just said, okay, I'm going to wipe everything else away, restart. So, you know, in coming into pastoring, it's like I'm starting my ministry over again, dealing with some of the same things I dealt with when I first came in concerning my age. And it's